Bonjour et bienvenue dans un nouvel épisode de Laying Down the Lore of the Old World, un podcast de lore dans lequel nous cherchons à distinguer nos ghouls de nos goblins, nos snotlings de nos skaven stormfiends et nos bloodthirsters de nos bloodletters, et poser la question générale, c'est quoi se delinéer avec Warhammer? Je m'appelle Ben Barber et je ne connais strictement qu'elle d'aller à Warhammer. Avec moi, mon co-animateur Christopher Crowlin Allen.
Sawadi Cap.
Qui ne connaît absolument rien de tout et Warhammer.
Sure.
Et mon cher frère Darren.
What the fuck is happening?
Que c'est tellement sur Warhammer qu'il demande comment il trouvait le temps de faire autre chose. And I do not know the last part, so after gathering online to slay some vermin in the name of Sigmar, this dichotomy between our levels of understanding became clear, and this series is an attempt to address that ignorance.
La ignorance est très bien, muy bien, wunderbar, fantastique. Benny, that was brilliant. Well done.
Interestingly, ignorance is the same in French. It's a universal.
Oh, I wonder why.
Just l'ignorance.
L'ignorance.
To the apparently less than 1% of our listeners who are based in France, I am so sorry. I apologize profusely.
What about French-speaking Polynesia? Or French-speaking African countries?
Or French-speaking Canadian? Yeah. Although my understanding is that the French in Canada wouldn't understand that if that was perfect French anyway. So, yeah, it's very
which it was.
Which it was.
Yes. Spot on French. Well done, mate. That was brilliant.
There was very little people that didn't understand that.
In return, Darren's going to recite his whole content in Swahili.
And if he gets it right or wrong, neither of us will know.
I would love to, but a court says I mustn't.
A judge.
Right, well, let's move this fucking thing along. Big thanks to everyone that supports the show. You guys are mon. If you would like to support the show, there's a number of ways you can do that. You can head over to Patreon, where you can sign up for our Discord for just £3 per month, or you can pay an extra £2 to gain access to our show Chunks of Dar, which is nice. We have merchandise and links to our affiliates if you're into the hobby on the website. Just click the Quartermaster link in the description and done. This episode may also include some ads that help us create the content for free. So just let them play. Just let them play, dudes. Mm-hmm. We're not asking much. And then, follow, subscribe, and all of that stuff that makes us feel really comfortable.
Follow, subscribe.
So are we going to address why French?
It wasn't French Star. It was Bretonnian.
Oh, yeah.
Idiot.
Bretonnia.
You fucking idiot.
Grall, I've got a note here that said that you were going to prepare as a limerick using the words moisture, cloister, and oyster.
That's right. And here they come. I was just like, oh shit, I was meant to do a fucking limerick. So ChatGPT to the rescue. Here we go.
Excellent.
Come up with a limerick featuring the words oyster, cloister, moisture. Sure, here's a limerick with oyster, cloister, and moisture. Here it comes. Okay, here comes number one. I'll give you a few because he's come up with a few. In a cloister where silence brings poise, sir, lived a monk who would dine on an oyster. He'd savour each shell in the damp evening smell. Thanks moisture for oceanic joys, sir. And it says, want a spicier or a sillier version? Sillier.
No,
version,
don't put this hackery on ChatGPT. This is all you.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Here's Kralin limerick number 2. Okay. An oyster escaped from a cloister, claiming, moisture's my natural moisturizer. It slid down the aisle, wore a grin and some style, and shouted, I'm nobody's appetizer. Huh? Huh?
Yeah, I think the first one was better,
last one.
Honest.
Last one. Okay, here we go. A bashful young oyster named Cloister refused to come out. Excellent. What a boister. It's the moisture, he cried, as he curled up and dried. I'm no clam. I require moisture.
Moisture. That was so good up until that last bit. Just that last line.
I feel that I could probably write better ones than that. And maybe I'll give it a chance next time. Yeah. Darren, I've never heard you genuinely disappointed, and it scares me. I'll be honest.
Yeah, he doesn't like the French. He doesn't like the limericks. I mean, what did more? Tell you what, let's give him a dad joke. Let's see if we can break through his morning fog. So this is a joke from one of our listeners, from James Edward Miller. So if this is shit, it's on him. Out in Africa, there's a herd of hippopotamuses. Hippopotamuses. Do you know what the collective noun is, Grall, for hippopotamus?
Hippopotamus.
Hippopotami. It's a bloat. There's a bloat of hippopotamuses. Yeah. They're grazing on the plain. One hippo says to another hippo, well, all these hippos are rather out of shape, don't you think? And the other hippo looks around and at itself and at his friend and says, hypocrite.
Oh, we got to cheer this motherfucker up. We got to pull out all the stops.
We have, haven't we? We're going to have to get a smile.
Why is it so difficult to insult a hippopotamus?
I don't know.
They're very thick-skinned.
Oh.
Nice.
Now I'm cheered up. Let's crack on.
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
No, they're just lame jokes. No.
Sorry, Darren. Stop using ChatGPT to write this show.
It rules my life these days. It's fucking lifesaver.
Right, Grall, you know what time it is.
I know what time it is.
Hello, Reichland. It's time for the WhatsApp recap.
Hey. I know why Darren's so glum. It's because we're talking about Bretonnia. And he's allergic to Bretonnia. That's why it is.
He's like, why do I have to get up for this shit?
No, it's not. You've momentarily reminded me that the French exist.
Oh.
This is why we've got less than 1% of French-speaking listeners.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. we love you. We love you.
Given that I was refused entry into France once, but that's another story.
We still wish we were part of the EU with you. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, how's it going over there with your free trade and free movement? Get off of Ireland.
With your free...
You lucky bastards.
Hey, he's perked up. Yeah, okay, yeah.
And all it took was a trade joke.
Tariffs, am I right?
I love it.
Reciprocal this, bitch.
Yeah, we were talking about Bretonnia and the ancient history.
Bretonnia.
There was the ancient history of claiming the lands and the Reman, which are basically the Romans, and the early kind of worshipping of elves, how elves were kind of getting involved in human affairs, and how that evolved from the ancient elven worship into the modern elven worship. There was also, there was the early trading with the dwarves, and how the dwarves were pivotal in the building of the early settlements, in particular Tylos, the first human city, which became what, Ben? After falling into ruin,
Skaven Blight.
Ruin. Yeah, more importantly, Skaven.
Yeah,
that's all that matters.
More importantly, Skaven, because it was the Tylos people that went underground to hide.
No, it was the Tillians or the Estilians.
It was one of them, Grall. I can tell you that. It's definitely one of them.
So they were probably called Tylosians.
Yeah,
or Tillians, because the first letters are the same.
Yeah,
or Tylonites.
Yeah.
Tylions.
Tylasians.
Tylasians. You're a bit of a Tylasian, Chris, I have to say.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. But my intro, my hello was Thai. Sawadee Krap. There you go. I'm Tylasian.
I was like, this dude speaks worse French than I do.
I do.
Honest to God, I thought he said Slappy Gap. I didn't know what that was.
It's a great nickname, though.
That was about it. How did I do?
Nice. Dark, can you remind us what the king of Tylos was called?
Tyleus. 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 Tyleus.
So it was Teleus, and he lived in Tylos. In Tilia.
No, it wasn't in Tilia. It was in that little kind of dangly scrotum bit of country between Estalia and Tilia proper.
Right. The Gooch. He lived in the Gooch.
The Tileans trace their ancestry back to rat gooches. Yeah. Geez, we're really going hard against mainland Europe today, aren't we?
Yeah, man. Let's reel it in. Let's reel it in.
Why not?
Right.
Have some isopropyl alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. Have a sniff. Get a whack
up your bum.
No, I've got a new thing. I've got a new thing, which is acrylic medium structure gel. It makes your acrylic paint peaky, as in has peaks.
Oh,
wow.
What, like meringue kind of peaks?
Okay, I did that as a joke. Holy shit.
Acrylic medium, you just spread it on yourself and then you can see ghosts.
Put it on your toast, see ghosts.
Yeah, but your arm burns off. Yeah.
Put it on your toast, be a ghost.
Nice.
Right, so when we last left Bretonia, it had... Well, we were actually talking about everything except Bretonia. It was the Riemann Empire and Tylos and its eventual fracturing and the migration of the peoples from there into the Old World proper. So Tylos really was the gateway for the rise of human civilizations in the Old World. We're returning back to Bretonia proper, and we're going to skip forward a fair few hundred years, because once the Bretonnians refuse the alliance with Sigmar and to, join part of this Empire of Man, history kind of draws a veil on them. And it's not until 580 years after Sigmar that there is a significant increase in greenskin raids throughout what is now Bretonia. And so effectively there are several wars happening at the same time. And if we can recall how many tribes there were of the Bretonni,
loads. There were
7 or 8.
There were loads, mate.
It was 20. There were 20 tribes of the Bretonni. 4 of them were wiped out during these greenskin raids.
Yikes.
Meaning that the remaining 16 managed to reclaim their lambs and their lands and establish regions that would remain relatively stable and similar to the regions that we have currently, the dukedoms. Interesting that there are 16 dukedoms at this stage, or 16 regions, and only 14 dukedoms, and we will cover that now. In around 930 of the imperial calendar, a massive orc horde, another Wa, led by Graabad, they pour out of the massive Orcal, the unfortunately named huge mountain range within Bretonia's borders, and overrun the lands of
Orkral,
which are the Orkral, which is one of these provinces. The cavalry of Kulo ride out into a last kind of really desperate battle, though they're like scything through greenskins like, wheat and scythes. Many of the knights are killed, and in the kind of wake of this disastrous military campaign, the armies of Quinel and Brion ride forth to destroy the orc forces. The 2 Bretonian armies then face off against each other, warring over the lands of Kulo, which has the nobility of Kulo had been destroyed. And so they challenge each other to a duel. The Lord of Bion is cut down, and the region of Quinels absorbs all the lands of the Kulo
I remember you saying that.
Province. Yeah.
So can I ask then, so you say that these 2 Bretonian forces kind of turned on each other. Had they dealt with the orcs already, or did they just forget about
they
that?
Had wiped.
Right, okay. So it wasn't like they kind of turned up and they were like, hey, these are our orcs. And then they start fighting with each other and then they completely forget that there's a massive Y going on next to them. Like, oh shit, we better deal with that.
No, I just love the idea of the two armies facing off against each other and the orcs just stopping, just going, what? What?
Starting to take
rude.
bets.
Turn around and be like, fucking bastards.
Was Massive Orcal named before a massive horde of orcs came out of it? And if so, right, okay. Did they not think maybe we should have named it something else? And that might have stopped
Massive Allies. Yeah, the name of the mountain is Massive No Danger Grall.
Yeah, Massive Gold Owl.
Massive or Cal? Which one?
Yeah, exactly.
You can't have both.
Can't have both, my friends. A couple of years later, Baldwin, the young lord of Breton, ultimately defeats and slays Graabad, slaying him in single combat. Graabad. During the battle, Graabad's great axe becomes stuck in Baldwin's shield, and the Lord fights the entire battle with the axe stuck in the place. And afterwards, that axe is adopted as a heraldic device on the shields of Breton in memory of that event. So you will see Breton troops, Breton soldiers and knights have variations of axes on their shields. Mr. Chris.
Nice. Reminds me of a Family Guy skit where Officer Reese's comes across a crash. He got peanut butter on my chocolate. He got chocolate on my peanut butter.
And then Officer Reese's shoots them both.
He got an axe on my shield. He got a shield on my axe.
Okay, we're now getting into, we're going to see a important character arrive now. Gilles du Baston. Gilles du Baston slays the red dragon Smeargus, which is a great
Smeargus.
Smearghus. Smeargus.
Single-handedly?
Smeargus.
Single-handedly in the forest of Chalons, and though quite gravely wounded, he manages to take the beast's severed head back to the castle. Like, why?
How big was the head?
Yeah, how big was the head? The size of a VW minivan.
Wow.
Fucking hell.
Pulling it behind a horse, ploughing the fields as he goes, Yeah,
it was just a bat size.
It was It had a massive body, but a tiny head.
It was oddly quite intelligent.
Brought the head in, slumped it into the court, the kingly court, and what's his name falls out of it. Who's the ghost torpedo? The Dragon Knight dude, the blood dragon.
Oh, Abarash.
Abarash comes out and like everyone's had a go at this dragon. This poor fucking dragon.
Oh dear.
The head was mounted above the gate into the castle, which is still called the Guise Gate, named in his honor. And he takes to wearing dragon skin, like flayed off of what I'm assuming is the head, into battle, and adopts the dragon as the personal heraldry that he goes out under.
Does he overdo it a bit? It's like, okay, you've killed a fucking dragon, but now I'm going to wear the skin. Yes, we get it.
I'm going to skin. And he's had him made into thigh-high cowboy boots.
And like every time they arrange a fancy dress party, they're like, "Oh, I guess we'll invite him. I wonder what he'll wear."
Exactly. It's that what's that Simpsons episode where Marge buys a Chanel dress and just keeps re-sewing it in different ways. So different outfits. Yeah.
Nice.
It becomes like that dude off Eastbound and Down, just like really milking that. Like, I killed a dragon. Yes, we know you killed a dragon 40 years ago. battle. Fucking hell. Everyone's killed a dragon now. All right.
Welcome to Warhammer is like other TV shows.
Yeah, so 3 IPs.
Warhammer's everything but Warhammer.
Beastmen pour out of the Forest of Arden at the north of Bretonnia, and around the same time the Norse begin to raid up and down the coasts, and the northern tribes of the Bretonnians pretty much become isolated from each other, and it gets very kind of city-statey, if you see what I mean. So the family of Baston, of the Graabad killer and the Smurgus Slayer, forged an alliance with Lyonesse, their neighbours, through a wedding between the members of their families. The Lord of Lyonesse, who marries his sister Rosalind, becomes very close friends with Guy de Baston, and the ties between the two realms grow really strong. Within about 20 years, orcs begin to pour over the mountains in numbers never really seen before or since. This is a huge green tide of death that begins to mow over the land, and unable to come to each other's aid because they're so isolated, the land of Glanboriel is utterly destroyed and subsequently amalgamated into Carcassonne. This strikes a kind of chord in Guy that his land is under such threat, and alongside Thierulf, 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 and the Lord of Mouzlon, Laudin, Guise prepares for one final battle. So we're now seeing an alliance between Lyonesse and Mouzlon at the kind of northwest, and Brion down at the dangly bottom. Or sorry, Baston in the middle.
The dangly middle.
The dangling middle. And so they march out to face this massive green horde, and as they're preparing for kind of one gargantuan battle that they're sure they won't survive, a vision of a beautiful fey maiden appearing by a lake in the forest of Chalons is seen to be blessing knights. The vision enchanted Guy's banner and bestowed unearthly strength upon the knights, filling them with kind of radiant power.
She's just jabbing them with roids.
Yeah.
You've been blessed. You've been blessed.
Divine roids. God berserkers.
Divine roids sound like really, really bad hemorrhoids.
I had absolutely divine roids last night. Yeah.
I think the three of us and our listeners should start using divine to mean something bad.
Yeah.
Like, bad can be used to describe it's cool.
Like London bad. 70s. Oh, it was bad, mate. Yeah.
It was bad, mate. They ride out the next morning and absolutely devastate the orc army. And after this first victory and the vision of the lady, we were now saying the Lady of the Lake, Guise leads the combined armies of the three companions to march on Bordelot to relieve them from an orc siege. The three companions absolutely wreak devastation on the enemy. Their armies probably help, but it's Bretonnia, so it's very noble and hero-focused, Other fighting forces were available on the day. It's like, you hear about the 300 Spartans at the Hot Gates. There were 7,000 other troops there on the Greek side.
Nobody gives a fuck, because you can't fit all of them in a film.
But they put the fittest, buffest 300 at the front.
Yeah, exactly. There was 7,000 others, but they were all not really in very good shape. Do you know what I mean? They weren't very camera worthy. They were just a bit tubby.
Yeah.
Just a bit shit.
And much like the film 300, the orcs were caught between the kind of vengeful Bretonnian army and the sea. As many as the orcs were killed by the Bretonnians and the three kind of heroes, more of the army drowned. So you had the invention of the Bretonnian dish, orc soup. That was terrible.
That was pretty shit. It's just orc and water.
Yeah.
But no, in the Bretonni, they would jazz that up massively. Put a bit of tarragon in there, some cream, loads of
frogs,
some truffles. I can't think of anything else French.
Croissants,
garlic.
Yeah.
It's actually turning out to be a bit of a gross soup, to be honest. I don't think I would try this soup.
Yeah,
you soggy croissant.
A second force of Bretonians arrived to help with the relief of Bordelot. Lord Marcus of Bordelot, the Duke, I suppose, or the leader of that region, and Fredemund of Aquitaine, both of whom pledged themselves to Guy's cause. And that night, because of the assistance aided or lent by Marky Mark and Fredemund of the Funky Bunch, both of those heroes were granted a sip from the Holy Grail. What did we call it? The hairy cup?
The furry chalice.
I beg your pardon. Making them the 4th and 5th Grail Companions. So now we have 5 armies combined as one, each led by the 1st through 5th Grail Knights. Mr. Chris.
Does it matter what liquid you drink out of the chalice/cup? Or is it just the fact that you're drinking out of the cup itself? It could be any water from a river, from a it could be orange juice, whatever. But it's the fact you're drinking it from the cup that matters.
I mean, she doesn't rock up with an empty cup. She doesn't arrive and go, "Do you have a tap?"
It's you got any liquid, bring your own water, any sort of juice or
BYOW.
Yeah. Any wine?
That's what I'm saying. That wasn't what I'm challenging. I'm just saying, regardless of that, is it the cup that's significant, or is it the liquid in the cup, or is it both? Does she have like a backpack, like the? And
is it half full or is it half empty, Grail?
Okay, so it could be a cup of Skittles. Just drink the Skittles.
Oh my god, I wish it was a cup of Skittles.
and she says with a heavy French accent, "Taste the rainbow, motherfucker." Yes.
The cup is full of candy.
So the Lady of the Lake had appeared to the Marcus and Fredemund in a private kind of chamber, and after they're blessed, Marcus later turns that chamber and into the first ever Grail chapel in Bordelot. So that's really the first battle that Gilles Le Breton and his Grail companions ride out into. They're heading out to Bion, and they encounter a bloated orc warlord called Brogtar, which is that's a World of Warcraft name, if there ever was one. Brogtar.
Yeah.
Lord Fredemund summons a huge flock of falcons, and I like to think he was sitting on his horse and he went caw just into the air, and then falcons appeared from nowhere,
just dropped dead from the sky.
You want falcons? Because that's how you get falcons.
And then, like, for the rest of the campaign, he was just, "Shall we falcon it?" Any problem solved with falcons.
So the toilet's backed up. Sorted.
Now we have
So the toilet's broken. So the toilet's all blocked up with dead falcons now.
Yeah, or the entire army had each had a falcon rammed up their butt, so they didn't need the toilets. Oh, I'm such a
That's
child.
real out of the box thinking there.
Well,
Excellent. I really got
me. I'm renowned for my in the butt thinking. Yeah, I've just got a vision of all these peasants running, screaming. Falcons are zooming in.
It's like one of those things of like making a wish with a genie. He'll do it, but not in the way you were thinking.
Well, anyway, he became the most feared man in Bretonnia as a result.
In a land of broken hearts and cursed profiles, where knights wander in search of love, one app rises from the mists of legend.
Introducing the Lady of the Lake dating app. Only the worthy shall match. Tired of swiping on vampire countesses, deceptive witches, or accidentally matching with your own horse? The Lady of the Lake dating app uses divine algorithm technology to pair you with noble souls chosen by fate and screened by piety. Answer our matching questions like, do you battle for glory or for love? How many dragons is too many dragons on a first date? Will you take the vow of chastity, or just kind of wing it?
You have been gained worthy.
The Lady of the Lake dating app. Swipe with honor, love with virtue. App experiences may include visions, quests, and mild divine judgment. Grail not included. Side effects may include chastity, intense longing, and dating people way out of your league. Terms and conditions apply. So the summoned butt falcons swoop out and defeat the enemy's flying beasts, the various wyverns and flappy monsters that greenskin armies can have, allowing the knights and their army to charge in. As the companions again win, and Lord Laudin of Muslon slays Brogtar, securing victory and allowing them to advance further into the besieged capital of Bion. The Grall Companions are able to completely rout the siege of Bion by charging into, funnily enough, into the rear, joined by a kind of valiant sally out of Lord Baldwin or Baldwin de Brion.
Or Brion Baldwin.
So after meeting Guy in the midst of the kind of charge, they kind of completely bifurcate the Greenskin army. Baldwin was blessed by the Lady of the Lake, who just, I don't know, does she just appear? Is she just standing there with a cloak covering her face like a 1950s vampire? And then suddenly it's me.
Yeah. The camera just pans left, and she was standing there the whole time. Like the whole time they were talking.
Yeah.
Just holding a cup.
How long have you been
looking
there?
Expectantly. Skittles.
And Lord Baldwin becomes the 6th Grail champion.
It starts to get a bit boring now, doesn't it? Everyone's like, oh, I thought I was special. No, everyone becomes a Grail.
Yeah.
Skittles for everyone. Yeah, that's it.
Guided by the ladies, they kind of replenish their weapons and rest at Bion, but then Guise gets more visions from the lady, and they march through the war-torn lands of Carcassonne to aid the dukedom of Quenelles, and are joined by Lord Lambert along the way of Carcassonne. As they reach into Quenelles, they see huge plumes of smoke on the horizon. Initially, they were terrified it was birds. But it turned out to be smoke, because the Greenskins had set fire to the forest of Lauren for the wood
That was
elves.
close. It's only the forest.
That was close, yeah.
I was just the Wood Elves. Let's go home.
Gilles Le Breton and his Grail champions rode into battle and entered into kind of a relentless combat with the orcs. And as they were fighting, the wood itself seemed to come alive as the tree men and treekin and dryads, together with the wood elves who remained hidden, but were peppering the enemy forces with arrows. And in that battle, the Fey Enchantress emerged, the high priestess of the Lady of the Lake, who was mounted on a unicorn.
Of course she
emerged into the battle, joined the Grail champions, and completely routed the orc force. So thus the Lady of the Lake then appeared and anointed Lambard of Carcassonne and Redmond of Quenelles as the 7th and 8th Grail champions. I hope you're strapped in, because this goes on. There's like 102 Grail champions, and we're doing them all. I think this is the fourth great battle of Gilles de Breton, and it really highlights the start of the positive relationship between the Bretonnians and the Wood Elves.
Was the battle happening on the outskirts of the forest then? Because I'm assuming
yes,
if it was happening in the forest, the Wood Elves would have been peppering fucking anyone that wasn't a Wood Elf.
Yes, exactly right.
You say the Wood Elves were always hidden. Do they always stay hidden? People have seen Wood Elves. When they want to be seen, they can be seen.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, they can be
but
seen.
But they're just rarely seen.
Yeah. But they were still in the forest, Grail. It wasn't like there was just the forest suddenly, the bushes just started to move slowly out of the forest, just across the boundary. They can't see us. You can't see us. Just a bush with arrows flying out of it in all directions.
The angry bushes are attacking. And then from the back of the Bretonnian army, caca!
Quick, put your back to a tree. No, wait. Nowhere safe. The old falcon bush pincer movement.
That would be an amazing name for an action hero, Falcon Bush. Falcon Bush, attorney at law. He's the American version of Paisley Scrotum. Anyway, after this victory, the Grall Companions ride north to break the siege of the capital of Paravon, just north of the Athalloran forest. The siege is being done by goblins of the kind of Severed Head tribe, because as we all know, goblins are great at naming things. And they don't have any war engines, but they do have giants who are just hurling huge rocks and boulders at the walls and houses of the city. And they actually break into the city, and their Lord Agilgar, is soaring above the...
Sorry, that's in my throat.
Lord Deep Throat.
Yeah, I'm having flashbacks to episode 15. I'm not even touching it.
Sail away.
On his butt falcons, Ben. Butt falcons to that. He was soaring above the battle, not by himself, that would have been weird, but he was on a Pegasus called Glorfiniel. And he was striking from the skies, swooping down in a charge, while the companions fought through the goblin horde in both the surrounding kind of craggy, mountainous landscape and in the streets of the city itself. And ultimately, they were able to free the city, and Agilgar pledged himself to Guy's cause. So the companions, having freed yet another city, do what they do best and head forward, joined by Lord Agilgar, and march to the aid of Montfort, which is further up the kind of craggy mountainside of Bretonia's eastern border.
It's a proper road trip, this one.
Yeah, they've got some real momentum at this point. They're like, why stop now? Let's fucking liberate. Let's liberate this goddamn kingdom.
Yeah. Gilles leads a fierce charge into the Greenskin siege, but he was struck in the chest by a bolt thrower bolt, a ballista bolt. I imagine his horse kept going and he just stood still. So he hovered in the air, pierced by a bolt, and kind of collapsed on the ground. The companions prepare to mourn Gilles. There's obviously a disruption to the battle and the charge. But Gilles miraculously rises the next day. I know what you're thinking, Chris, not a vampire. He tears the bolt from his chest, and a intense kind of blaze of light emerges from the wound.
He's a witch!
He takes to the battlefield once again and single-handedly kills 3 wyverns. One, he just throws the bolt that had pierced him and kills the wyvern straight
proper
through
Bollywood
his
head. Moment that is, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
What's that film you
Brilliant.
love? Bahubali, the greatest film ever made.
It's a scene from that.
Yeah. We should do that. We should organize a viewing party on the Discord. Sign up, listeners, if you want to watch the greatest and most hilarious set of movies ever made. I can't wait for Bahubali 3 to come out. Awed by their courage and loyalty, the Lady of the Lake appears once again. Probably she just steps out from behind a tree or something.
Yeah. It is me. I was here. It's like Arrested Development. There's a character. There's a lawyer called Jean Parmesan, and he's
Master of Disguise. Yeah,
Master of Disguise. It's just like, we should call the lawyer, and he just steps out of the crowd dressed as someone else. Like, fucking genius, absolute genius.
And if I'm remembering correctly, the mum always squeezes with delight.
Yeah, she's like, oh my god, he's just the best. He's like a really shit. Is he I think he's a private detective. That's what he is.
He's a private detective. Yeah. So the lady offers her chalice to Agilgar and Marta de Montfort, naming them now the 9th and 10th Grail Companions. With the Greenskins in retreat, Gilles leads a huge counterattack into the caverns of the Goblin warlords, the Goblin Kings, and they delve deep into the kind of shadowy depths of the mountain. Surrounded by the kind of glowing residents, surrounded by their glowing houses, they go through the Radiance, Darren. Radiance is the word. The companions fight through hordes of trolls and the various other kind of horrors of the subterranean realm, cutting down goblin kings as they go through brutal combats. So I very much imagine Oprah going, you get a Goblin King, and you get a Goblin King.
And they're all cheering at each other as they do it. Ha! We're so grand. Slay that.
Yeah. You have some of my radiance, and you have some of my radiance. Thrusting hip first while they said that, obviously.
Yeah. As cacaw reverberates around the caverns. Mr. Chris.
The dude, was it Gilles who got skewered by
Gilles, yes.
Gilles, as in the the butter, Gilles. He got skewered, but then rose to fight another day. Is there an explanation how and why he did that?
Dude, light came out of the wound. Like, that's a clue.
Yeah, radioactivity, Chris. Radioactivity.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Plutonium, Chris.
Bretonnium. Yeah. So how did Gilles survive? Is he immortal now? Is he fucking?
Yeah, the blessings of the lady. He's basically the chosen champion of the Lady of the Lake.
Okay.
And so he is going around,
so he can't die.
Freeing up and reconnecting with the various kingdoms or dukedoms as they'll become.
And the side effect of his heroism is immortality.
For him, it's the job needs to be finished.
Oh, okay, fine.
So
soon as he's done, that massive hole in his chest.
There ain't going to be light shining out of that anymore. He's like, I'm just not going to finish the job then.
Imagine he couldn't turn it off. It was just always there.
Just fucking like putting a board over his thing. Like, sorry guys, I know you're trying to sleep.
Yeah, I can't. No one can sleep because it's constantly daytime. Because of the light coming out of this thing.
And when he looks directly at you, you're like, oh fucking hell! It's like this LED ring light.
He's wandering the camps, going, "Oh, will no one help me?" And then he hears from way in the distance, "Caca." So
as the light has like completely skewed the migratory paths of all the birds, it's just constantly fucking daytime. Like.
I tell you, it would explain why there's so many fucking falcons around this army. And now I love the idea of like a swarm of falcons with one confused flamingo. That's just, I don't know why that's funny. Yes, having brutally killed the goblin leadership, they emerge drenched in blood, but they claim their 7th great kind of victory in battle over Bretonnia's enemies, having pretty much shattered the greenskin menace that's in the heart of their realm.
Who were there first, right? The orcs were there first.
Yes. So it's colonizing, Chris. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. That's the point I was getting to.
Very charged times. Yeah. Gilles then marches west with the now 10 Grail Companions to aid the Duke of Gizro against yet another powerful greenskin horde, led by, in this case, a collection of orc shamans. Chris, very quickly, what's a collective noun for orc shamans?
A chant of shamans.
Nice.
A chant of orc shamans. I love it. Protected by the kind of divine grace of the Lady of the Lake, the companions were untouched by the shaman spells as Lord Baldwin led the charge, slaying dozens of shamans in an almost berserker-like fury, if I'm recalling correctly. Although tens of thousands perished in that battle, not a single drop of the companions' blood was spilled. Now, though tens of thousands, it doesn't specify whether it's exclusively Greenskins, or was it the members of the whole 10 armies that were following 10 dudes.
Yeah. The important thing is the champions weren't touched. Like, that's all.
Yeah.
History is written by the victors.
Yeah, and this is the one of the first occasions where we get a sense that Greenskins, including orcs, can feel terror because they are said to have fled in terror as the kind of their magical protection, magical weapons failed. But as Ben quite rightly points out, it's written by the victors, so maybe they just kind of shrugged their shoulders and marched.
There weren't any Greenskins. There never were.
It was just loads of cabbages. It was a cabbage field.
Yeah.
So what they did was they charged in, killed a load of farmers. Someone got falconed in that battle, I tell you.
Yeah.
Turning north, they head to the burning ruins of Mouzlon. So Laudin is not exactly happy about this. And Gilles and his companions join the Duke Fulgar. They try to defend the city from a combined horde of beastmen and undead. Each companion holds a section of the wall. It says by themselves, like they single-handedly, together with their entire army, held a section of the wall. Gilles beheads a zombie dragon while Thyrolf grapples with a chaos giant. So not just a giant, a tentacled giant.
No.
Agilgar is yeah. Ask your doctors if Agelgar is right for you.
Do not take if you're taking Stryrethenstrahl.
That's right. He battles the various flying horrors of beastmen and undead armies, or that are found in those armies. And Landun, it disappears. He charges into, with his army, the undead host and kind of vanishes for a brief time, eventually slaying the vampire lord, who's the general of the undead army. And as we all know, when you kill the general of the undead army, they start to fall apart.
Kaput.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With the undead vanquished and the beastmen fleeing, the companions give chase into the kind of dark woods around the city. And upon returning from victory, from the massacre, effectively, the Dukes Beren and Folger are blessed by the lady completing, I should say, the 12 Grail Companions. These companions ride north through the forest of Arden to relieve the besieged port city of Languil under assault by the Norse marauders. If you recall, at the start of this road trip episode, the Norse marauders were, marauding in a Norsey fashion up and down the coastlines of Bretonnia. So the marauders were attacking from the sea, but bands of chaos warriors were attacking from the land. Duke Corduin broke through the siege to join forces with Guy, and Lord Marcus of Bordelot challenged the Norse leader, Svengar of the Scalings, in single combat atop a lighthouse. Which is, that's about as cinematic as it gets.
Yeah, man.
So that image there is the actual combat. Well, it's a picture of fantasy combat between Svengar of the Scalings and Lord Marcus. And even though the Chaos Gods themselves were imbuing Svengar with enough power to win this single combat in real time, Marcus triumphed, and he did a full kind of Darth Maul on Svengar, cutting him in two, and his both bits of the body flew to the ground. Well, fell to the ground. And honouring the duel itself, the Norse withdrew in kind of sheer awe because their greatest champion, their leader, had been killed by one of a handful of divinely imbued leaders of Bretonnia. After a
divinely
brief...
in a good way.
Yes, divinely in a good way. Yes, exactly. Well remembered, Chris. And after a brief rest in the city, the Grail Companions, now joined by Carleond of Kuron, fought a massive orc horde on the banks of the river Seines, which flowed black with the enemy's blood. Hey, orcs have black blood. Who knew?
That makes sense.
Who knew?
Who grew?
Who grew to you too?
And who grew to you too, sir? Once again, surrounded by divine light, the companions and their armies struck down the orcs, causing once again the orcs to flee in terror or just to saunter off in search of another fight.
Ogged away.
Yeah. The Bretonnian records mark this as the day that had the single largest number of greenskin casualties in a war. They killed more on that day than ever before, which give you an idea of the cleanup operations. There should be special units for each armies that come in after to clean up.
Yeah.
I think that I'd read that book. Anyway.
The Janitor Brigade.
The Janitor Brigade. Ow. So much blood was spilled that the kind of folklore is it turned that region into an eternal marsh. And even though victory was secured, the land was kind of poisoned in that region. But nonetheless, the companions hastened towards the city of Kuron at the very tippity-top, tip-tip-top of Bretonnia. The Grail Companions gathered there and faced an unprecedented threat as a coalition of beastmen, trolls, greenskins, and Chris, Skevain, besieged the city from all sides. As they prepared for battle, the Lady of the Lake appeared, granting Lord
again. Hi guys, I've got my cup. Hi.
Yeah. She was actually dressed as one of the cleanup janitors. She was like, "Hey, it's me. You didn't see it. I'm here. Have a skill."
Weren't you just using that cup as a dustbin? Yeah, but just drink from it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the mystery of the Grail. If you actually wear it as a hat, it's a perfect disguise. Much like when you put a saucepan on your head and pretend to be a Dalek. I did that. That was a lot of fun.
It's like the ring in Lord of the Rings. She puts it on and bam.
Yeah, bam. She grants 2 further dukes, or knights, heroes, the Holy Grail. Thus, now there are 14 Grail Companions. And with the power of the lady flowing through them via Skittles, the Companions fight against the overwhelming odds. And it's said they battled for weeks, with the sun rising and setting, 20-odd times without rest. That's the Companions, not the sun. The sun, that just turns normally. It's fine.
Yeah, doesn't need sleep.
And their victory was secured amidst a mountain, a literal mountain of slain enemies that had to be kind of scooped up into patches around the city and then set fire, which it said that the actual process of burning the enemy dead made night as day for 3 days. There were so many enemies in there.
Smelled oddly delicious as well.
Yeah, oddly. Everyone was put right off barbecue for 2 generations.
Right. Smells like ribs.
Within a month of this final and great battle, these are the 12 great battles of Gilles Le Breton. The Companions meet in the realm of Artois, which I heard has a stellar reputation. Here, the formal dukedoms were created, so the actual hard borders were generated during that time. And the Bretonnian calendar was introduced. So this now was year 1 of the Bretonnian calendar, although it's 977 in the imperial calendar. Each of the great lords from these tribes of the Bretonni, were named dukes, and they swore oaths of fealty to Guy as the kind of leader of battles, the greatest amongst them. And Fredemund, who was the newly christened Duke of Aquitaine, was married to Guy's youngest sister, Annabelle. Just to give you an idea of what Bretonnian culture is like, we have mentioned 2 women, both of whom were only mentioned in relation to being married to a friend of their brother. That should give you a full and clear idea of Bretonnian culture.
Yikes.
Just 17 years later, death caught up with Guy, not from the wound in his chest, that had healed by the healing light of, Duracell. He was honoured by the whole of Bretonnia as the uniter, the kind of founder of their nation. And unfortunately, having kind of one peace for his country, he himself could find no peace and was constantly out facing against the enemies of Bretonnia. And one day he was simply struck by a enchanted weapon, a magical weapon, from a source that has never been...
Chalice just flying through the air.
Yeah, a sharpened chalice. He was struck and he died. Sure. And it's from that instance where he was killed by a ranged weapon of some kind that the Knights of Bretonnia said they would no longer use any ranged weapon whatsoever. Right. So that's to honor their great founder. And as they were mourning him, there was a final vision from the Lady of the Lake granted to the companions, and his men carried him to a nearby lake, and he was placed on a ship piloted by the Lady of the Lake, which sailed off into the mists towards
a speedboat.
Towards the fabled, it was a pedalo, towards the Isle of Bliss in the mystical other world of Bretonnian afterlife.
The Isle of Bliss. Sounds like a Balearic isle. Just hear like soft house music, like through the mist. The odd cheer.
It's just those like spotlights across the horizon, like just slowly panning.
Yeah. Can't quite make it out, but it
lasers.
Sounds like a fucking cracking party. Yeah. The Bretonnians decided to abandon use of all ranged weapons after a ranged weapon struck and killed their greatest leader. I think they got it the wrong way around. I would have been inspired. They were like, that weapon was really effective. It killed our greatest leader. We should use that.
Yeah.
No.
Because if they've got one, they probably have more. And they're coming at us with these weapons. They're killing our best. So, let's get some of them. Like,
No. They were like, no. That was so effective. We're not going to use it. Okay.
But it was a weapon that overcame the blessings of the lady. And he had already
even better, like, fuck me, that is one powerful ranged weapon. Let's use that. Let's get our hands on that. Let's reverse engineer it, and let's fucking get it in our armory.
Okay, my limited understanding of theology, what Chris is just describing is the reason that Christians use the cross as their symbol.
Why?
Well, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Because it was the cross that Jesus was sacrificed upon, right?
Oh, I see what you mean.
And so they used, they kind of utilized that. Yeah.
Even though technically it was the spear in his side that did him, but we'll move on.
What ranged weaponry were they using up to that point?
Crosses. No, but like bows and arrows, basically. Right. Perhaps the occasional Tillian crossbow. From
trebuchet. And they'd already witnessed how effective bows were in the hands of wood elves. All the signs were there. Like, fucking hell, ranged weapons are really effective. Really effective.
Yeah.
For many reasons that we've seen over our crusade.
Because if they've got a jabber and I've got a shooter, they can't use their jabber. It's a distinct advantage.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Bretonians be Bretonnian. Whatever.
they just be Bretonnian. Yeah. Many of his funerary items became relics. In the vaults, there's a mountain range called the Vaults. There's a settlement called the Grand Duchy of Savoy. And in there, its capital city is the city of Turin, which holds the death shroud of Gilles Le Breton. So the Shroud of Turin is canonically in Warhammer, and French Jesus was wrapped in it, and it still bears the outline of his body in blood from the day he was mortally wounded.
Wow.
Of note, immediately after his death, his son Louis became the first ever questing knight who received a vision from the Lady of the Lake, and he simply left and was given the moniker Louis the Rash, as he for his rash behavior, not because of he had psoriasis. He travelled off into the land of Bretonnia in search of the Holy Grail. Scene. That's it. That's your lot for today.
Wow, brilliant! Yeah,
what a romp! Yeah. What a romp!
So it was one big crusade, basically. None of this start and stop nonsense. They just fucking plowed their way through the lands of Bretonnia to get rid of all their enemies so they could claim it for themselves.
It took 18 months, is roughly how long that road trip took to reconquer an entire kingdom. Yeah.
Many garage lunches.
That's a very good point, because 18 months with a full army, you need to feed and water them as well. That's quite a tour.
Sorry, Chris. It was just the companions.
Yeah,
reading the history books. It's just 12. It's 14 lads. Yeah, in total.
Yeah. Mate,
wow.
Fucking yeah. That's how you fucking crusade people. Yeah.
Was that the first? No, that wasn't the first instance that because the Bretonnie had interactions with the wood elves before. Is that right? Had they come to their aid?
Yes, very scattered interactions, but this is the first time the wood elves saw the Bretonians coming to their aid as a potential ally.
Right. Okay. Right. And they just kind of looked at each other across no man's land, and there was just a very slight
they did that. They did the nod, but it's the up nod. They just went.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
It's happening. And that was it.
Sideways nod.
Friends. Yeah. They just shook their head.
No.
Well, do you want to hear the greatest crossover ever? There is a wood elf character, a beastmaster. The wood elves have beastmasters that can help them in Skaven armies. You have pack masters that run with ogres and stuff. They run with like dogs or boars or cats, or not cats as we understand, but like mountain lions, that kind of notion.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But there is one
Falcons
who does falcons, and he's called Skaw the Falconer.
Oh, really?
Shut up.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Amazing.
I have never. I don't think it's been a number of years since I properly got you, Ben.
That really got me. That was like it was the dwarves electrifying speeches that got me. That
he was electrifying his audience. Yeah.
It didn't get me.
Amazing.
I thought it was pretty fucking crude, barbers. Too lowbrow.
It's all right, Carl. I'm going to cut that a bit out and then just cut little snippets of you laughing, and just put that in over the top, and then it'll sound like you thought it was fucking hilarious as well. Oh, the power of the edit. Anyway, we've got to wrap up. Anything else?
That's us.
Nah. Wrap up in French.
Fuck that. All right, that's all from us. Thank you so much for listening. Details and imagery for the topics we've discussed in this podcast can be found on our website at layingdowntheLore.com. We also have all of our previous episodes on there, release schedules and merchandise. Again, if you're keen to support the show, just click on the Quartermaster link in the description and give us all of your newly formed Bretonnian credits. Franks is what I meant to say. We'll be back again soon, displaying just how little Chris and I know. And until then, a cheerio.
Bon voyage.
Caca.
Laying down the law.